All right, there it is from the Triumph album Allied Forces, Fool for Your Love. Love that one, love that album. Probably my favorite Triumph album. I love the ones before it, don't get me wrong, but that was the one album, at least for me as a fan, where I think was the heaviest record, I think, at that point. And I think everything just kind of came together all in one on that record. But that's just, as a fan, one of my favorites. Fool for Your Love from Triumph. And two people walked into the studio, both named Mike. Mike Piazza has returned to the show after I don't know how long as my co-host. He disappeared, went off, retires from baseball, buys a big place in Miami, and he drops out on us.
I've been changing diapers for the last 6 months.
Yeah, you got people to do that. Don't try to do this to me. I know your ways. You're not getting. You're not dropping in here after about a year apart and trying to make it sound like you're working. Man.
Oh, come on!
Look at the tan.
I just come back and you're breaking my balls.
You've been away too long.
I know, but
he's looking awfully relaxed.
Isn't he?
You know what I mean?
Come on, Mike. Look at this guy. He's gonna start singing. We're gonna start playing my fiddle for him. And the other Mike who's here, and it's a pleasure to welcome into the studio Mike Levine from Triumph. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Eddie. I'd be better if there weren't thunderstorms all over the East Coast. But
both of you guys had travel nightmares. Yeah. Now, Piazza came up from Florida today. Yeah. It took you how long?
It took should have been a 2.5-hour ordeal. Ended up being about a 6.5-hour ordeal. And then I hit bridge and tunnel traffic coming in the city.
That's always nice.
My baby's like going crazy, dude. It was just like, it's the weirdest thing. I'm not even going to get into it crazy, but, when we were talking about it before you have no sympathy with people for kids, but after you have a kid, you just kind of go, wow, it's really a lot of work traveling with kids. But, that's fun.
I went with my kids to
fish.
I went with my kids to the Jersey Shore the last couple of days, and we're driving up, only an hour and a half ride back home or whatever, and I have a 10-month-old son, and everything's great and on the way and on the parkway, and we're like 5 minutes from the house, still on the highway though, and he just erupts and starts screaming. Yeah. So I pull into the rest area, which I find out that whole thing about the gay guys cruising the rest area is unfortunately true, because as my wife's changing my kids' diapers, there's guys trying to pick each other up in front of us. It was just a wonderful thing, and truckers and stuff. It was crazy. And my kid's having a meltdown and stuff on 287 in New Jersey, and I'm like, we're 10 minutes from home, man. Just pull it together. Pull it together. Just give me 10 minutes. And I got on the road and I just start hammering it. I put on the new Judas Priest album. I thought maybe that would mellow him out because it was working on the way down. Didn't work. But
you open the windows, you get that. They're kind of distracting.
You have kids, Mike Levine?
Well, my kids are growing up now.
So you went through that.
He's 26 years old, yeah.
You've been through all that.
Yep. It used to be fun sitting in the front of the plane and, your kid's 3 months old and he cuts a tooth and everybody is looking at you really like,
it's hysterical.
How dare you bring a kid in front of
I know. You just feel them stabbing you with their eyes. You know what I mean? Like, you're the villain.
Well, you being a rock star and him being an athletic star, I wouldn't know about the first class thing, but I'll take your words for it.
That'll be our
Listen to this guy here. Yeah, this guy's got more money than anybody.
I know.
He likes to lay it on.
I
want to call the IRS on you. You're going to be in jail with Wesley Snipes. He's got Swiss bank.
Oh, yeah.
This guy. Those are the people that always complain.
That's right.
That's it. You just come and see my estate. I'm not having a barge put up palm trees in my backyard, buddy. That's all I'm saying. He's been away too long, Piazza. I got to zing him when I can. Anyway, I'll take the heat off Mike for a second, and let's turn our attention to the great Mike Levine, who's here. We're all big Triumph fans. Mike, you were here last a few years ago. There were Triumph DVDs, the US Festival, the stuff that you guys released.
That was
at that
awesome,
point,
by the way, that DVD.
That was very cool, yeah.
Yeah, and at that point, the band was not together and not really active, and of course, Rick Emmett wasn't part of it for so many years. And it's interesting because Rick did my satellite radio show, I guess about a year ago, and he at that point had a rock band that he started doing, Airtime or Air something.
Yeah, Airtime, I think it was called, yeah.
So we were talking about that, and then inevitably the subject, as always, would come up, even when you were here previous to a Triumph reunion. And Rick had said something to me interesting at that point where he said that there's talk about it. He had mentioned you guys going into the Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that was somewhat a catalyst for it. And he had also said, though, that I thought was interesting, he said there's no way, though, that you'll see any Triumph reunion shows until 2009, the earliest, because I just don't see how we could ever get it all together from the business end and the playing end to make it happen. And like a month after Rick said that, I see on the website Triumph playing Sweden Rock or something reunion in 2008. So I said something moved up and got the wheels turning a lot quicker. So the long question to the whole thing is, how did it come about that?
No, sorry.
No, but I want to paint the scene as to how we came from there to here. How did it all come together?
Well, like Rick said, we couldn't. I think it rolled around to maybe being April of last year, or May, or June, or July, and we decided, well, you know what? Maybe there is something, and maybe we can play again, and so we did some investigation, and. By the time that was all done, it was really too late to go out and do a big tour. We decided like in January, hey, it's probably a good idea. But then it was like, yeah, but we got to start in May. Putting together a production and a crew and rehearsing and doing all that just wasn't enough time. It's like a 9-10 month project to do it properly. So we said, but why don't we find out before we make a real major commitment to a big tour, why don't we find out if we can really play together, have fun, be hot again, be Triumph.
Right.
So how do we do that? Well, let's pick a couple of festivals, play a couple of festivals, no pressure. We don't need trucks, we don't need a big crew, and let's go out and see what we can do. So we started rehearsals, and I guess a couple of months ago, mid-April. And once the rust started to fall off, we actually started having a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And we've been having a panic ever since. I mean, we're laughing and going crazy, and it's just like, it's almost like the old days in its own way, like we're reliving our past. But we're happy, it's like, that's the best thing. Even if we didn't play ever again, the fact that Rick and Gil and I can sit down and have dinner and talk and laugh is like, that's on a personal level, that's incredible.
Well, because a lot went down. I mean, you've been apart for how long? Was it like 18 years since?
Something like that. When we had coffee, I think Rick said, gentlemen, it's been 17 years and 2 months since I last spoke to you.
Wow. Now, who makes that first call? I mean, you guys, this band from Canada, and you start out in the mid-'70s, and then you have all this success, especially in the early '80s, through the mid-'80s. And then everything unravels, or whatever the case may be. And Rick, who, when you're a trio and you lose a guy, that's, a third. It's harder. Especially when the guy is the guitar player and one of the lead singers of the band. So, you tried to do some things, I know, with him gone, and I know that there was a lot of animosity at one point. Who makes the first call? How does the reunion actually take place? Who calls who? Or is it a manager, agent, or is it one of you guys running into each other at the grocery store? What is it?
It was the guy that runs Canadian Music Week that wanted to put Triumph into his Hall of Fame, and which was like an industry function more than public thing. But the Canadian Music Week, it's like South by Southwest, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And
you need some water or something?
I love water.
Holly, can you get Mike a cup of water right there?
Yeah, or a beer. Icy cold beer would be great right now.
I don't think I have got any of that, but we can maybe send someone out. No. If Richie Cotson's listening, Richie, pick up a six-pack on your way in.
We could do that stuff around here.
Exactly.
So anyway, Neil, called me and said, do you think you and Rick and Gil would do the Hall of Fame thing? And I said, I'm in, I think, and Gil's probably in, but talk to Gil, and talk to Rick. So I think the way it went down, it took Neil about 2 months to get Rick to actually agree to it, or at least agree to a meeting.
Right.
So the three of us, Neil brokered this deal that we'd all sit down in a coffee shop, but Neil would be there to referees, kind of thing, arbitrate.
Right. In this corner, Rick Emmett. In this corner, Gil Moore and Mike Levine. Duke it out.
Thank God he wasn't an attorney.
So we, right. So we did a slam down cage match, but. Neil, of course, didn't show up. We met in a donut shop, coffee shop.
Oh, man.
And Neil's supposed to be there. He didn't show up. So the three of us are sitting there looking at each other, like, okay, hi, guys.